There have never been as many options for type 2 diabetes medication therapy as there are right now. With constant research and development, new tools sometimes become available in our fight against elevated blood sugar. Well, the medication Trulicity was recently updated to include 2 new approved doses with the hope of providing even better diabetes control. Welcome to Sugar High, guys. I'm PA David, and I'm a board certified and licensed diabetes specialty PA practicing in Southern California. And Sugar High is your channel for relatable and reliable diabetes information that is always easy to understand. Today's video is sort of a supplement to a longer video that's already on my channel that talks all about the medication Trulicity. In that video, I talked about the 2 doses of Trulicity that were available at the time and how to tell the difference between the 2 injector pens. Now that there are 2 new doses and 2 new pens available in pharmacies, I wanted to make this supplementary video to keep the information on Sugar High up to date and fill you in on what's new. So let's check it out on a Sugar High update. From the day it was first FDA approved until just recently, Trulicity has always been available in 2 dose options. 0.75 milligrams is the standard starting dose, and if additional A1C reduction is needed, there's a higher 1.5 milligram dose. The single-use injector pens are color-coded so that at a glance you can always know which dose a pen holds. The 0.75 milligram pen has a yellow-colored label, and the 1.5 milligram dose comes in a pen with a blue label. And I covered that in my previous video. Well, based on the results of further clinical research on Trulicity, the FDA recently approved a new 3 milligram dose and a maximum 4.5 milligram dose. And these pens are color-coded so that you can tell them apart too. The new 3 milligram pen has a sort of a dark gray label on it, and the 4.5 milligram dose has a green label on it. So here's the color schemes of all 4 doses, just in case you're curious. The medication is used exactly the same way as the older doses. It's still injected just once per week, and there's no number that needs to be dialed up. You just turn the dial to unlocked, place the surface against your skin, and then press the button. You don't have to do multiple injections to get the higher dose, and the higher dose pens don't inject a larger volume of liquid either. Each pen injects the same small amount of liquid. There's just more medication dissolved into the higher doses. Now, as it stood, Trulicity was already a really effective option for type 2 diabetes management. The 1.5 milligram dose reduces A1C by an average of like 1.5 points. So if it was already working that well, you might wonder, what's the point of a higher dose, right? Well, it turns out that the 4.5 milligram dose causes even greater A1C reduction. In a recent clinical trial, the 4.5 milligram dose of Trulicity dropped A1C by an average of 1.8 points. What's kind of funny is that the 3 milligram dose didn't really lower A1C much more than the older 1.5 milligram dose. It dropped A1C by like 1.6 points, which is a pretty small difference. So the usefulness of this 3 milligram dose is probably going to be more like a stepping stone to allow you to gradually move up to the 4.5 milligram dose. The idea of gradually increasing is that a big jump in the dose, like going straight to the 4.5, would be more likely to cause uncomfortable side effects. At least that's my own personal thoughts on what the usefulness of the 3 milligram dose would be. One of the other benefits of the new options is that the 4.5 milligram dose causes much more weight loss than the 1.5 milligram dose. Now, not everybody needs to lose weight, but for most people with type 2 diabetes, weight reduction is a huge part of improving the metabolic issues at the core of diabetes itself. The more weight we lose, quite often the easier diabetes can be managed. The 1.5 milligram dose of Trulicity does cause weight loss, but it isn't as much as some other medications in the same family, like Ozempic, for example. In most clinical trials, people using the 1.5 milligram dose of Trulicity lost like 7 or 8 pounds. Well, with the new 4.5 milligram dose, people lost an average of 11.1 pounds. That's pretty impressive because that now puts Trulicity pretty close to Ozempic in terms of how much weight people tend to achieve. in addition to the A1C improvements. So at this point, you're probably wondering about side effects. As we increase the dose of medication, oftentimes side effects become more noticeable, right? So if we're tripling the dose of Trulicity, does that mean that we're going to triple the side effects? That's a valid question, right? Well, it turns out that the type of side effects that the new maximum Trulicity dose has are the same as the old dose. They do happen a little more frequently with the new higher dose, but it's actually not that much more. Nausea is still the most common side effect, and if we compare the new doses, I'm just going to leave off the 0.75 milligram dose because nothing really changed there. But you can see that the old maximum dose caused nausea in just over 13% of people, and the new maximum dose caused nausea in just over 16% of people. That's not a huge difference. We see the same idea in people experiencing diarrhea, about 7% with 1.5 compared to 10.7% in the 4.5 milligram dose. Vomiting isn't as common as nausea, but it does still happen, and the difference is a little bit more noticeable here. 5.6% of people on the 1.5 milligram dose reported vomiting, compared to 9.3% of people on the 4.5 milligram dose. So it's not quite double. Here's an interesting one though. Dyspepsia is just a fancy word for upset stomach, and it's listed as a separate side effect. But in the study that compared all three doses, it was least common in the new maximum 4.5 milligram dose, with the middle 3 milligram dose causing it almost twice as much as either the lower or the higher dose. And that's weird, right? That kind of makes me wonder if this is more of a placebo effect. So there's your overview on what's new with Trulicity, and I hope that this was helpful in explaining the new changes. If you've been prescribed Trulicity and you have questions on how it works or how to inject it, or you're looking for a more complete conversation on the side effects, I would encourage you to check out my full review on Trulicity that you can find right on the Sugar High channel. You can find it under the diabetes medications section on the channel page, or just click on the link that I'll attach at the closing screen of this video. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, please consider hitting that thumbs up button. It really does help the channel reach as many people as possible. And make sure that you subscribe so that you can have access to all the new diabetes videos as soon as they become available right here on Sugar High. I'll see you guys in the next video.